טוב, שבוע טוב. היי everybody, ברוכים הבאים. תודה רבה שהצטרפתם אלינו להרצאות TED של קהילת אהבת ציון. היינו איתכם בנובמבר, עכשיו אחרי איזושהי תקופה חזרנו. הפעם יש לנו לא רק נציגים מהדור הישן, אם אפשר לקרוא לעצמנו ככה, אלא גם כן מהדור החדש, מהחבר'ה שבאמת עושים דברים ודברים נפלאים, ואנחנו מאוד שמחים לשמוע את כולם. הערב שתי הרצאות יהיו באנגלית ושתי הרצאות יהיו בעברית. אני מזכיר לכולם ששאלות יהיו אחר כך, זאת אומרת, אחרי כל דובר אנחנו ניתן זמן לשאול שאלות, אפשר לשאול בצ'אט, אפשר גם כן לעשות unmute ולשאול גם כן, למי שרוצה, מי שיכול, מי שלא בפיג'מה, או גם בפיג'מה ולא אכפת לו, יכול להדליק את המצלמה. ואני מתכבד להזמין את עמיחי וולף, להיות הדובר הראשון. עמיחי, בבקשה.
שבוע טוב לכולם. שומעים אותי?
שומעים
אותי? שבוע טוב, שומעים.
נהדר. אז אני עמיחי וולף, מי שלא מכיר אותי מהקהילה, בן 22, משרת ביחידת מגלן היום, בצבא. זהו, בגדול עליי. אני מגמגם, אז אני אספר קצת על עצמי בדקות הקרובות. למשל, אם אנחנו נהיה בחדר מסוים ויכנס אדם נכה או עיוור, אז ישר אנחנו נלך לעזור לו. שהוא לא ייפול, שיהיה לו יותר קל, כי הרי אנחנו רואים את זה שהוא מוגבל והוא צריך עזרה מסוימת. כשאני נכנס לחדר ואני רוצה לדבר, אז כמו שהעיוור, הגברת שנכה לא הולכת, אז אני באותו רגע לא יכול לדבר. אני גם נכה לכל דבר, אבל ההבדל בינינו שאצלי המוגבלות הוא בפנים, ולכן לא רואים אותו, והוא שונה. אז אספר קצת את הסיפור שלי שחוויתי עם הגמגום, כמה קצת דוגמאות, סיפורים, ובסוף אם יהיו שאלות אני אשמח. אז ככה, אני התחלתי לגמגם בערך בכיתה ט' ממתנה מהשמיים, אפשר להגיד. ממש התביישתי בזה, החבאתי את זה, לא רציתי שאנשים ידעו, פחדתי שההורים שלי יאהבו אותי פחות, שהאחים שלי... לא רציתי שאנשים ידעו, ונורא החבאתי את זה. וכמה דוגמאות לכך שחוויות יומיומיות שחוויתי, לדוגמה, להזמין אוכל בטלפון או להזמין מונית, סיוט כי הייתי מנסה לדבר, נתקע, או לדוגמה, משהו יותר מצחיק, שאני תמיד ממש אהבתי מיץ תפוחים בתור ילד. ובגלל שהיה לי נורא קשה להגיד את של התפוחים, אז הייתי מתפשר ומבקש ענבים. אז שנים ההורים שלי חשבו שאני אוהב ענבים ולא תפוחים, ורק אחרי כמה שנים הבינו שאני רק באמת מעדיף תפוחים. אז הגמגום שלי הוא לרוב בהתחלה של המילה או הדיבור, יש לי סוג של נתקע, ולאחר מכן אני לרוב מצליח לדבר כרגיל. הוא לא גמגום קשה מדי, אני לא נתקע יותר מדי, אבל זה מלחמה יומיומית. זה כל בוקר שאני קם, אני יודע שעכשיו יש לי מלחמה, ימים יותר טובים וימים פחות טובים. והכי לא היה חשוב לי מה אנשים אחרים יחשבו, אלא מה אני הרגשתי רע עם זה. וכמו שאמרתי, נורא החבאתי את זה, התביישתי בזה, וההורים שלי גילו רק בשמחת תורה לפני כמה שנים, כבר כמה שנים טובות, קיבלתי עלייה לתורה, ופשוט לא הצלחתי לקרוא לקרוא את הברכות, ממש פשוט קפאתי. זה היה נורא נורא מתסכל וכואב, ככה ההורים שלי גילו שאני בעצם מגמגם, שבעצם משהו לא... הרי אני יודע לקרוא, אבל שום דבר לא יצא. ככה ההורים שלי גילו. אז עם הזמן למדתי לשחק משחקים, כדי שלא יבחינו. שהכי קל היה, אם אני לא מדבר, אני לא מגמגם. זה היה הכי קל, אבל זה הדבר שהכי לא אהבתי, כי אני אוהב לדבר, אני חברתי, אני רוצה לדבר. אז השיטה אחת היה לא לדבר, שזה היה הקרבה גדולה. עוד שיטה שהייתי עושה זה להחליף מילים. לדוגמה, אני יודע שקשה עם האות W באנגלית, עם האות T בעברית, מילים כאלה, אז הייתי מחליף מילים. למשל, במקום להגיד, לשאול באיזה שעה יוצאים היום בערב לבר מצווה, לאירוע, אז הייתי למשל אומר, יוצאים היום ב7. ככה הייתי מדלג על המחסום הראשון הזה שידעתי שהוא נורא קשה לי. עוד דוגמה זה תזמון מילים. אני הייתי מחכה שהפה שלי יהיה מוכן לדבר. ומדבר. פשוט הייתי מחכה, וכשהגוף שלי מוכן, אני אדבר. קיצור מילים, הייתי מוריד את ההתחלה של המילה בשביל ממש שוב לעבור את החסם הזה. ובאיזשהו שלב אני אמרתי לעצמי שאני רוצה להגיד את מה שאני רוצה להגיד, איך שאני רוצה להגיד ומתי שאני רוצה להגיד. והיה נמאסתי מכל המשחקים, מכל השיטות, ורציתי להיות מי שאני, והחלטתי שאם מישהו לא אוהב אותי או לא מקבל אותי בגלל הגמגום שיש לי, אז זה בעיה שלו, ובאמת יכולתי להיות עם משהו הרבה יותר נורא מזה, ואני כן יכול לדבר, אבל פשוט קצת קשה לי. אני מאמין שכל אדם שואל את עצמו שתי סוגים של שאלות. הן יפות, אבל הן לא עוזרות לנו, הרי אנחנו לא יכולים לשנות את העבר, וזה מה שיש. אלא אני מאמין שהאדם צריך לשאול את עצמו שאלות על העתיד, כלומר, אוקיי, אני עמיחי וולף, אני מגמגם, מה עכשיו? זה כל המוצא שלי. לא לנסות, אני צריך להבין מה יש לי עכשיו בידיים, ולהתקדם הלאה. וכל אחד בסוף יודע במה הוא טוב ובמה הוא פחות טוב. ואני חושב שכל אדם צריך לקחת את הדברים שהוא טוב בהם, ולהשתמש בהם לדברים טובים, ולהשפיע טובה על הסביבה שלו. ומעבר לכך, להעז עם הפחדים, עם הפגמים שלנו, בשביל להפוך אותם למקור של כוח. אני לא חושב שאני גיבור או משהו, אבל אני הפכתי את הנקודת החולשה שהיה לי בחיים, שזה בעצם היה גמגום. והפכתי אותו למקום שהוא מדרבן אותי, מקום שאני רוצה לעזור לאחרים שמגמגמים, לאנשים שאני מבין את הכאב והתסכול שהם עוברים והם חווים. ואני רוצה להשפיע טובה עליהם ועל הסביבה שלי. ולא, כאילו זה מסר לכולם, באמת, לא לפחד מדברים שחוסמים אותנו. ואני מרגיש שהייתי עסוק המון מהזמן הזה להרשים את הסביבה שלי, כלומר, לא להיות מי שאני. פשוט, כאילו, תהיו אתם, אני צריך להיות אני, וכל אחד צריך להיות עצמו, ולהיות הכי טוב שהוא יכול. זה בגדול, בקצרה מאוד על הגמגום. אז יש לי שלושה מסרים גדולים, כי דילגתי על המון פרטים, כי אין הרבה זמן, ואחרי זה, אם יהיה זמן לשאלות, אני אשמח. אז המסר הראשון זה באמת, כל אחד צריך להאמין ולקבל את עצמו, ולהיות הכי טוב שהוא יכול להיות, כי אנחנו כאן, הקדוש ברוך הוא שם אותנו בעולם של שנייה אנשים, שנייה מי שאנחנו, אנחנו מתכונות מסוימות וכל אחד שונה מסיבה מסוימת, וכל אחד צריך להוציא את עצמו אל הפועל ובאמת להיות מישהו. הנקודה השנייה זה להעלות מודעות לגמגום, כי באמת זה לא משהו שרואים, ולכן זה לא משהו שמודעים אליו, ואני מבין את זה. ופשוט לדעת שיש אנשים בינינו שמסתובבים, שיצא קשה לנו לדבר. רגשנים וצבעים לסביבה שלנו, לקבל את האחר כמו שהוא. וזהו בגדול. אז תודה רבה.
תודה רבה עמיחי. אם יש שאלות, אנשים יכולים לשים את עצמם על unmute. שאלה לי, אם אני יכול לשאול אותך עמיחי, איך זה הולך בצבא עם הגמגום, מבחינת המפקדים, שאר הצוות?
Would you log in?
Let me go to the computer. Log it in.
Just do...
Can I do it on my phone?
כן, שנייה, יש לנו איזושהי בעיה טכנית שנייה. עמיחי, אתה שומע אותנו? טוב, שנייה, נראה לי שיש איזושהי בעיה עם האינטרנט שלהם.
Here.
שנייה טוב?
Shut the other one. Leave it.
Sorry, if you just turn off one of the devices, because now we're hearing an echo. Okay. אתה שומע? שאלתי אותך איך זה עובד מבחינת הצבא, ואני חושב שאחר כך יש למרשה שאלה. אז איך הולך עם המפקדים, עם שאר הצוות וכולי בצבא עם הגמגום?
בצבא, ישר הודעתי אני ישר להודיע למפקדים ולאנשים שאני פוגש, כי זה מונע ממני את הצחקים שאני לא אוהב, וככה יותר קל לי. זה לא מונע ממני לעשות שום דבר ולא עוצר אותי. יש לי את הפחד שיום אחד אני צריך להגיד משהו בזמן מסוים, ויהיה לי קשה, אבל עד אז אני הולך בסדר, כאילו אני מקווה שיהיה בסדר.
Sababta, Marsha, did you want to ask a question?
I didn't, but I will.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were on mute.
I
Apologies.
heard, no, I was saying that I don't think you heard your question. No, I was just curious from the time that you discovered that you had this, if you ever thought to seek out any kind of treatment, whether they work or they don't work. I mean, sometimes it works for some people and sometimes it doesn't, but whether you decided to do that or not.
Yes, I had treatment. I went to see Uri Schneider for those who know. The specialty about stuttering is that there's no real cure for it. You can't. It's not like when you're sick you take antibiotics and your body cures itself and you keep on going. בגמגום אין תרופה חד משמעית. יש שיטות שמקלות או שעוזרות, אבל לפעמים זה משתפר, לפעמים זה יחמיר, אבל אי אפשר באמת לדעת. אולי מחר אני אקום ולא יהיה לי גמגום, אני לא יודע. אבל יש טיפול וזה מאוד עוזר להמון אנשים.
תודה רבה עמיחי, ממש תודה לך על השיתוף של הסיפור שלך. ואם יש עוד שאלות, אנשים יכולים לכתוב בצ'אט, אם אתה עדיין תהיה בזום להמשך הזמן. And I'm very happy we have Shai Jaskoll joining us from United Hatzalah. Shai, we hope that you don't have to get a call in the middle of the time when you're speaking. So everybody knows if he suddenly disappears, it's not Shai's fault. Bevakasha, Shai.
Erev Tov, Shavua Tov. It actually did happen. I was speaking to a group from abroad, and classic. It literally was across the street from my house, on Nachal Mata. was someone having chest pain. And even though I heard someone respond right away, I was trying to explain about the organization, and it was almost like seeing was believing. By the time I got up and I switched off my, sort of like Ami just did, from his computer to the cell phone and walked outside, there was already a volunteer pulling up. You saw the motorcycle, you saw this, and in real time, I had like, I don't know, a bunch of people abroad personally experiencing what the organization does. So I just want to mention, just hearing Ami speak, not only about stuttering, but also just want to thank him for sharing and speaking about it. And also Uri, who has, he just put his information a little bit in the chat. Very powerful and very, very special family, him and his father do this type of work. And also obviously Ami and everyone, all the young men and women on the call, or shared with them, the parents on the call, what you all and your children all do for Eretz Yisrael, Medinat Yisrael, protecting us, serving. Kol hakavod. I know, look a lot of the faces and see how many young men and women are doing a wonderful thing on behalf of us, the community, and everywhere and everyone. So United Hatzalah, people always say, what's Hatzalah? What's United Hatzalah? A lot of people know about Hatzalah from their perhaps countries that they made Aliyah from. And here it's a little bit different, like everything in Israel, and definitely the way we do it in Israel and also here in Beit Shemesh is also somewhat unique. So Ichud Hatzalah is a national Israeli ambulance service that's free, fast, and focuses on immediate response. So anywhere you are within the whole country, from Ramat Golan, Teilat, Shtachim, anywhere, you could just dial our direct number, and a lot of people want to know what that is. It's 1221. So 1221 from any phone, house phone, cell phone, without a star, no hashtag, nothing. 1221, English, Hebrew, and other languages. You just call, say, I need assistance. Medical assistance specifically, and we will send the first responder. Generally, it could be someone on a motorcycle. Also, we have people, and most of our volunteers are actually in private vehicles as well. And you might see them in the neighborhood or around the country, but most of the volunteers, you actually don't realize who they are. About 6,000 of us all throughout the country, and it's a combination of everyone. So as diverse as maybe the Kihila is, or taking a step back, Ramat Beit Shemesh, or Israel is, I would say you have that same diversity in United Hatzalah. So men and women, Jewish, not Jewish, religious, not religious, everyone together, and every belief, shape, size, and orientation is essentially who we are, right, left, this, it doesn't make a difference. And that's one of the hugest differences between United Hatzalah here in Israel and many of the Hatzalahs across the world. We're the only one who actually have women responding to emergencies that are part of our team. We have leadership, our CFO, plus head of branch of the different branch responders. We have women in leadership positions as well. And I don't know if she's on, but she doesn't have her video on. But obviously, that allows me to be part of United Hatzalah, because if I was trying to join Hatzalah without women, then you knew what would happen. I basically would be out. But we're not going to talk about that right now. But the 1221 is quite important. Always call. It's free and fast. If we don't have an immediate ambulance in the area, and I have to say over Shabbat, for instance, here, you can't make this stuff up. Is that for you? There's a call coming in now. So it's in, this is in bed, actually. I know it's hard to have cliches that a woman in bed in labor needing to go to the hospital. But part of my sarcasm at this early hour of Motzei Shabbat. But the idea is exactly that, where we'll get the first responder. We'll get the information. We have our GPS-based Uber, Waze, EMS system will notify the closest responder throughout the whole country. So even though I'm from Beit Shemesh, if I'm in Yerushalayim at work or Tel Aviv for a meeting, it will query and locate me once every 5 seconds. And from the closest, most appropriate responder, will get to the emergency nationally at 3 minutes, but most times within a minute and a half. So Beit Shemesh, thank God, most of the time the phone is being hung up and generally the volunteer is walking in the door already. We don't bill for any of our services, but if we don't have an ambulance immediately available, we will notify Magen David Adom to send the transport ambulance, which there, if it comes 10, 12, 20 minutes later, is less of a critical nature, because the initial treatment and stabilizing of the patient is done by our responders as well. Also, depending on the community, you also have sort of the makeup of the community. So some of the stringencies in Bnei Brak or in Geulah Me'asharim are not the same that you see in Tel Aviv or Umefachem or anywhere in between. So yes, we do have females who ride motorcycles in different parts of the country as well, which is quite interesting. But the cross section of filling that gap, Eli Beer, who, if you have not heard his personal story, I'll share it as well. In the link, there's a link of his TED Talk, his actual TED Talk that he did, and also his personal story as a young man growing up in Yerushalayim, unfortunately seeing people injured or killed, bus bombings at that point, plus other emergencies, and recognizing the standard ambulance that I grew up going on in the US and now in Israel, my son, and many of our young men and women in the community. It's a great way to give back. Unfortunately, it's not always the most efficient and effective way to actually save a life. So with that, coming up with this other out of the box thinking, Eli always describes as a little Jewish or Israeli chutzpah, like you're stepping up there and saying, this is the current system, and let me just put it a little bit and dynamically change it to make it more efficient and effective, maybe cost less as well. So you call it Israeli innovation, startup nation, so on and so forth. I'll send a link or two in the thing. But I think what's most powerful, definitely for me over the last year, as you may know, Eli Beer, who founded this, and other members, his wife, his children are responders as well, got very sick. He got COVID. He was in the US. He was on his deathbed. I don't think it's a highlight of what he shares, but he said some really honest things about that point, the current health Sarbriut, the health minister, that went viral. But essentially, the important part is, even during his illness, other people stepped up here in the organization in Israel to do more for the residents of Israel. And I just wanted to highlight a few of those things, and thank God Eli's back and he's strong and he's continuing the message and the mission of the organization. The things I highlighted, where we were doing for the meloniot, for all the transportations to and from the different isolation hotels for Pikud Oref. The organization has been and continues to do that, over 20,000 transportations to and from these facilities to help move people logistically. It was beyond the capacity of the army or the country, and we stepped in and were asked to do that. But I would say now, as we're now maybe exiting phase 3, entering phase 4, I don't even know what we are. We're somewhere. But with that, there's two highlights that I wanted to share. One is specifically assisting the Kupot Cholim, giving the vaccinations. We have about 400 plus volunteers who actually train to give the vaccinations, and now partner with the different Kupot Cholim, and as part as their staff in the different Mirpaot are giving it, so we could actually increase the amount of people that could go through there for free. We don't charge the Kupot to help them. And then the second part, which is something we've just started to do, and there's a big focus on the Nitzulei Shoah, of going ahead and assisting for those individuals that are homebound, too ill, to bring them to the facility to receive their shots and then bring them back. We partnered with over 20 municipalities. There was an article that came out in Beit Shemesh with Eliza Blacho before the weekend. She shared also a picture of her in the back of our ambulances. So essentially, these people we pick up, we bring to, they receive it, and after a waiting period, they come home. I know time is short, but I'm going to, let's see if I could do this. I'm not sure. Let's see if we could do this. Let's see if this works.
If you're sharing your screen, okay,
Yes.
fine. Just make sure that also you click, if you're showing us a movie, make sure you click that you're sharing the audio as well when you do the share. I mean, you can try now. Let's see if it works. If not, then you'll stop sharing and reshare again. At the bottom left, there's a place to see. Yeah, we can. Yeah, make it louder and do full screen.
Hold on.
If you're looking for the full screen, it's on the right. Next to it says YouTube.
Yeah, but it's, for some reason it doesn't.
Oh, we can hear it. Okay. Yeah, you don't have it playing twice though. Okay.
So I guess in conclusion, what I'm personally most proud of is the inclusive nature of the organization, the way it really represents all of Israel, our desire to put differences aside and focus on what unites us or connects us. People always say, what's Ichud Hatzalah, what's United Hatzalah? The idea is that we're all able to be who we are, where we are, but come together for the common goal. Obviously being ability to see someone like Eli Beer was a young man, did not exceed in traditional education, but has been given this gift or this skill set to just connect people and bring the energy to this very important mission of saving lives. We're doing almost 2,000 standard emergencies a day. And because of COVID or these additional transportations, we do so much more. The particular program of the COVID response and the transportations is where our focus is, and we're not getting reimbursed by the government or by any of the Kupot Cholim. I'll share a link about that. We share the video and some of the funding opportunities related to this very specific project. But all of our people who do this are volunteers, and obviously any way we could help, we like to help. 1221 is the direct number, and I'm just aware of the time. If there's a question, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, Shai, if anyone would like to ask questions, you're welcome to unmute yourselves. I guess, Shai, you give so much of your time to us, we can give you a few extra minutes, so it's not a problem. There's other things that you wanted to say, you'll get across.
Would love that.
Questions.
Shai, Shavua Tov, Shakoach. I would love to ask, what is really the difference between Ichud Hatzalah and Madha? Like, where I know there's been some tension between them, but like, forget that, put that aside. But like, on paper, like, where is it that Ichud Hatzalah, what services are Ichud Hatzalah there that actually weren't there while Madha was around? What gap are you trying to fill in?
Right. So the short, smart answer, which is actually not mine, but I've heard it given. People ask the question, what's the difference between the organizations? And the quick, a regular chat, as we would say, what's the difference? 15 minutes. That's the difference between the organizations. But essentially, Magen David Adom is amazing, period. I volunteered for them in the past, as you know, Hillel has, and they do wonderful work. The problem is in the law, the Magen David Adom law that passed in 1951, I believe, and one of the areas is to provide ambulance service. There's no requirements of you must provide that ambulance service by X amount of moments or minutes. So yes, they have to send an ambulance, but for example, in perspective here in Beit Shemesh, and this goes back a whiles back for the first generation of Beit Shemesh, Ramat Beit Shemesh people. Remember when Keren Yosef was started by Doris Mainzer, Gina's mother, is because there was not even a Tipul Nimratz in the area at that point. There was like one ambulance on service. Fast forward to 2020, 2021, we have over 200,000 people who live in the greater Beit Shemesh area. There's under 5 ambulances in service at any particular time. The emergency that went last week to a call, it was an off-duty ambulance. It was like a second or third emergency at a particular time. And that ambulance went alone with no staff, no one to be with the patient, no one to treat the patient from the time of the emergency. So the need that we recognize, that Eli recognized, the traditional ambulance, and this is his own emergency, he crossed Jerusalem from one side to the other, took over 25 minutes to respond to a child not breathing. A child was choking. When they arrived at the residence, the child was in the home, unfortunately unconscious. We're going back many years. And as they started to resuscitate the child, the neighbor, who was a physician, heard the siren, saw the flashing lights, came out, said, "Hey, I'm a doctor, can I help?" Unfortunately, very quickly, because of now over 30 minutes that passed, they saw this child wasn't viable, and the physician pronounced the child dead. But the words that resonated with Eli, and sort of the mantra of the organization, physicians sort of bemoaned out loud, almost like saying, "If only I would have known about this 25 minutes ago, I would have been more than happy to help." And that was sort of like what we'd say his aha moment, Nafala Simon moment of, if only we were able to help before the ambulance got there. So with the idea, at that point, Eli brought it to the leadership of Magen David Adom Yerushalayim, talking about probably 25 years ago or so. And he got the little pat on the shoulder or the head saying, "You're a teenager, go to the back of the ambulance, don't talk, don't say anything, we'll tell you what to do." But his own parents supported him, like many things, bought one of those walkie-talkie radios to pirate into the ambulance system of Magen David Adom, and where he grew up in Beit Vagan, they started doing that first response ad hoc without equipment initially, but within the first 3 days of having the radio, he was able to save a life. That over the first 2 years of volunteering on the traditional ambulance weekly, he wasn't able to save. And who was the first person he saved? An elderly person from the neighborhood, got hit by a car, was bleeding profusely from the neck. He had no medical equipment. The only thing he knew to do is he had to stop the bleeding. How did he stop the bleeding? He took off his kippah, folded it over, put direct pressure and held it for 20 plus minutes till the ambulance arrived. The person now was stable enough to transport to the hospital, still had a pulse and blood pressure. And at the hospital, after being treated and stabilized, the family knew Eli and his family because they had I think the only English Judaica bookstore in Beit Vegan. And, maybe the Dorovins or other people who might be familiar from a million years ago what was going on in Yerushalayim. Maybe we'll put the gold.
Yes, the goals.
Okay. So, but that generation, supposedly, Eli's father was the first importer of English Judaica, Sfarim, or whatever. They called the bookstore, said, "Was that your son Eli? We want to speak to him." And they said, "Just so you know, my father's alive because of you. Come to the hospital." They reconnected at the hospital. When Eli went to go hug this man, he saw actually he had the numbers. So Auschwitz didn't kill him. Making Aliyah at that point wasn't the challenge, but the streets of Jerusalem almost killed him because he almost got hit by a car. And that was sort of the motivation behind the organization, to fill in the gap, which I think a lot of Amutot do, or people want to make a difference with the national service perhaps don't. And that's where the concept of the organization came in. And every time there's another challenge, we try to find a solution to fill that gap and make a difference in the community.
תודה רבה. Thank you very, very much, Shai, not just for
Thanks.
this, but for everything that you and other volunteers do. ממש תודה. If there's other questions, people are welcome to write in the chat. יונתן, אתה איתנו? כן, אני רואה, אתה יכול לשים את עצמך על unmute. Hi.
יש לי בעיה קצת עם הטלפון שלי.
Where are you joining us from? ישיבה?
מהבית.
מהבית, סבבה. מעולה, אז אנחנו נשמח לשמוע ממך. הרבה קראו על יונתן בעיתונות בשנה שעברה, הרבה מכירים אותו כמובן מכל המיזמים שהוא וחבריו עושים, ואנחנו מאוד מאוד שמחים שהסכמת לדבר איתנו ערב, בבקשה.
תודה רבה, אז שבוע טוב לכולם, למי שלא מכיר אותי, קוראים לי יונתן שכטרמן, אני חבר בקהילה פה, בן 18, ואני לומד בשיעור א' בישיבת מעלות. אז זאב ביקש ממני לדבר על סבבתא, אז מי שלא שמע עדיין לא מכיר, אולי ראיתם קבוצות של בני נוער וקשישים בפארק המרכזי במהלך השנה האחרונה, או במתנ"ס, משהו בסגנון הזה, ובעצם זה סבבתא. סבבתא זה ארגון שקבוצת חברים שלי ואני מהשבט, הקמנו במהלך השנה האחרונה, שבעצם מחברת בין בני גיל הזהב לבני נוער בעיר, בארץ, ואני רציתי לדבר קצת על הייחודיות של המיזם ועל הסיפור הקמה שלנו תוך כדי. אז סבבתא בעצם זה ארגון טוב, נראה לי הכי טוב, זה לספר את הסיפור שלנו, ודרך זה באמת מבינים מה מיוחד שם. אז זה היה ממש בסוף של הקיץ של כיתה י"א, אנחנו עוד שניים מתחילים כיתה י"ב, וקבוצת החברים שלנו מהשבט, היינו מבלים עם המדריך שלנו שעבר, וככה שבועיים לפני התחלת הלימודים, ישבנו אצלו בבית, אצל יונתן לוין, למי שמכיר, והיינו קבוצה של איזה 10 חבר'ה מהשבט, ודיברנו בינינו, ואז הוא אמר, וואי, אולי תעשו איזה פרויקט או משהו לקראת השנה הבאה, תהפכו את השנה שלכם ליותר משמעותית. וחשבנו בינינו ואמרנו, כן, אחלה רעיון, בואו נעשה משהו. כי ראינו שכיתה י"א, אפשר לעשות משהו מעבר, יש מספיק זמן, לא צריך לתחום כל הזמן בגרויות. אז דיברנו קצת, והגענו למסקנה שבמיוחד בשכונה שלנו, יש צורך בארגון מיוחד בשביל גיל הזהב, בשביל הזקנים בעיר. אז ניסינו לשים לב, למה שאר הארגונים בעצם לא פועלים, לא עושים את העבודה בצורה טובה, שאנחנו צריכים להתערב שם, כאילו יש הרבה מאוד תחומים, יש צרכים מיוחדים, יש נוער בסיכון, למה דווקא בתחום הזה? בעצם שמנו לב שהתחום הזה של גיל הזהב באופן ספציפי, יש בו את אותה בעיה חוזרת בכל הארגונים, שמבחינתנו בגלל זה לא עובד. ואז ניקנו את זה ל2-3 נקודות, ששם עשינו את ההבדל בסבבתא. אז הבעיה הראשונה מבחינתנו היה היחס. היחס לרוב הוא יחס של מתנדב כלפי מישהו אחר. הבן נוער מגיע ועושה טובה לקשיש שהוא מגיע אליו לבית, הבן נוער ככה מנסה להזרים איתו שיחה, לא כזה עובד, לא הכי נהנה, ואז אחרי שעה עוזב, יופי, סיימתי משעת התנדבות שלי וחוזר לבית. והבנו שהצורה הזאת זה לא עובד, זה לא טוב. זה פוגע באנשים. הדבר השני ששמנו, זה גם לא מענה כל כך לבני נוער. לבן נוער לא לפעמים כל כך כיף לשבת לבד לשעה לדבר עם קשיש. יש כאלה שכן, ובגלל זה יש ארגונים אחרים שעושים את זה, אבל שמו לב שלרוב זה לא כל כך מעניין בשביל הבן נוער, אז חשבנו, והבעיה האחרונה שגם מבחינת בני גיל הזהב, בסופו של דבר זה יוצא שיש להם שעה אחת בשבוע שהם נהנים, וכל שאר השבוע הם פשוט בבית, באותה בעיה מחדש. וככה בעצם חשבנו על העקרונות שלנו לסבבתא. אז סבבתא, בשונה משאר הדברים, אנחנו החלטנו שצריך להיות כיף בשביל כולם, שזה יהיה משהו קבוצתי ולא אחד על אחד, שזה יחבר את הפער, שבאמת יהיה כיף ונרצה לרקום את הקשר הזה. אז הגענו למסקנה שהדרך הכי טובה לעשות את זה, זה דרך מפגש בין דורי. במקום לעשות אחד על אחד שהמתנדב מגיע לבית, החלטנו שקבוצה של חברים בני נוער וקבוצה של בני גיל הזהב ייפגשו ביחד בפארק. ככה זה יוצא שבן הנוער נהנה, הוא עם קבוצה של חברים, הוא בחוץ, הוא יכול לשחק, יש אווירה מענה, יש מוזיקה, יש אוכל. ויוצא שגם בשביל גיל הזהב זה לא התנדבות, אני לא גורם לו להרגיש מסכן. אם הוא רוצה לבוא, הוא מגיע להחלטה שהוא בא להשתתף בפעילות הזאת, הם יוצאים מהבית, הם נפגשים עם כולם. וזה גם פתר את הבעיה של מהלך השבוע, כי יוצא שגם במהלך המפגשים האלה, בני גיל הזהב מכירים אחד את השני, ורוקמים קשרים, וגם בני נוער מתמשכים למהלך השבוע. אז ככה חשבנו על הרעיון הזה, שבעצם אנחנו הולכים, קבוצה של בני נוער, להיפגש עם קבוצה של זקנים בפארק פעם בשבוע. אז סיכמנו את כל זה, כולנו מתרגשים, ועדיין לא היה לנו שם שום דבר, הדפסנו פליירים, ככה כמה דפים, הרמה גדולה, כתבנו, מי שמעוניין להיפגש, קבוצה של בני נוער, קבוצה של בני גיל הזהב, שידברו איתנו, ופשוט עשינו את סיבוב דולב, פשוט תלינו מלא פוסטרים ככה בכל זה סלוטייפ, הכנסנו בכמה מהבתי כנסת וזהו. ואז הגיע יום שני, קבענו את המפגש, אנחנו קנינו קצת אוכל לפני, ואנחנו מחכים כולנו ככה, האם זה יעבוד, זה לא יעבוד, בית ספר עוד לא התחיל, כולנו עדיין שם, קבוצה קטנה של בני נוער, ואנחנו רואים, הגיעו 8 בני גיל הזהב שהיו מעוניינים להצטרף. אמרנו, וואי, זה עובד. וישבנו, בהתחלה היה מוזר, לא יודעים מה לעשות, יושבים, יש לנו רמי, קלפים, אנשים שאתם מדברים, ובסוף של המפגש, אחרי שעתיים, כולם סיימנו, אמרנו, וואו, זה היה ממש כיף, ממש נהנינו, וכל בני גיל הזהב כזה, כן, וואי, ניפגש שבוע הבא, היה ממש כיף. הבנו, וואו, באמת יש לנו פה משהו. באותו לילה, אחרי המפגש, ישבנו, דיברנו בינינו, גם אז חשבנו על השם סבבתא, שבעצם סבבתא, השם זה סבבה, וסבא וסבתא, שבעצם מסמל את החיבור של המילה סבבה, שהיא יותר הסלנג של הנוער, שמסמל כיף, והחיבור עם סבא וסבתא. אז אחרי זה כבר היינו טיפה יותר רשמיים, גייסנו קצת תקציבים, ושבוע אחר כך כבר היינו 12 בני גיל הזהב, ועוד 20 בני נוער שישבו ביחד בפארק. באותו מפגש שני כבר הגיע מישהו ממודיעין, החבר של כמה מהבני נוער אצלנו, שהלך להקים את זה שם. אז אחרי 3 שבועות כבר היו לנו 2 סניפים. לאט לאט כל העסק הזה התפתח, ובסופו של דבר כרגע אנחנו נמצאים במצב של 20 סניפים ברחבי הארץ, בהקמה או בפעילות כבר, וזה סבבתא פחות או יותר, הנאה, חיבור בין דורי והדדיות. אין לי עוד יותר מדי מה להוסיף בעניין, בסופו של דבר, זה הכל. אם למישהו יש שאלות, רוצה לשמוע עלינו יותר.
מצוין, תודה רבה יונתן. יש למישהו שאלות? אני רציתי לשאול אותך איך זה הלך בתקופה של הקורונה, שאי אפשר לקיים את הפגישות, אז מה עשיתם? מה היה?
אז עכשיו בתקופה של הקורונה זה בהחלט קצת בעייתי, בסופו של דבר כל הפורמט שלנו זה מפגש פנים אל פנים, אבל חשבנו על כל מיני פתרונות שונים. יש דבר ראשון את הזום, שזה לא כמו מפגש פנים אל פנים, אבל עדיין יש את העניין, יש את המפגש בסופו של דבר, אנחנו עדיין יכולים לדבר עם אחד לשני, להעביר פעילויות שונות, ליהנות. יש סניפים ברחבי הארץ שלקחו את הזום לפורמטים שונים, שהם עושים דיונים אקטואליים דרך הזום וכל זה. בנוסף, פעם בשבועיים הבני נוער יוצאים לחלוקות, יש לנו עיתון של סבבתא, דף אחד קטן עם כמה עדכונים, משחקים, דבר תורה. כל בן נוער הולך עם מסכה, שומר על 2 מטר, דופק בבית של הקשיש, מביאים את העיתון, מדברים קצת, בודקים מה שלומם, מה שלום אחד של השני, יוצרים את הקשר הזה, ואז חוזרים לבית. אנחנו מקווים שנוכל לצאת מהמצב הזה כמה שיותר מהר, ולחזור לפעילות האידיאלית שלנו.
אתה יודע, אם יש עוד שאלות, אנשים יכולים לשים את עצמם על דיבור. בבקשה. אוקיי, בסדר, תודה רבה.
בכיף, מי שרוצה לשמוע עוד יכול להסתכל בפייסבוק או באתר שלנו, וכן. ואם יש לכם שאלות, אתם יכולים לפנות אליי גם.
אז בבקשה תשים את הקישור לפייסבוק וכולי בצ'אט, ותודה רבה.
בשמחה.
אוקיי. Gedalya, if you want to put yourself on unmute. This is actually great. You know, in the last series of the TED Talks, we had Shoshana Jaskoll and now Shai, and as well, now we have Gedalya as well. Your wife spoke in the last talks, and I hope she's listening to one of the other computers. So here we go. Improving your vision, you can see better.
Something like that.
Something like that. Okay.
Okay, you can see more. How to expand your vision. That's the title. So first of all, like you said, Shai and I, we're just one step behind. You know, we what can we do? For those who don't know me, I made Aliyah with my family in 2015 from London, and since 2016, we have been members of Avat Zion. On a day-to-day basis, I have the great fortune to be able to help people change their lives by learning how to be more efficient with their vision using vision therapy, which I do from my clinic at home. And I also have a special interest in advanced contact lens fittings, as well as providing regular vision examinations for glasses. This evening, we will learn about your dominant sense, vision, the master of all the other senses. I feel some of you recoil, particularly occupational therapists and the like. What do you mean vision is the master? What about hearing, balance, etc.? So let's prove it. I am now about to attempt something never tried before in the long and distinguished history of KAT TED Talks. We will do 2 experiments, which will need a bit of audience participation. So please turn on your cameras for this. That means turn on your cameras, right? So I'm looking around. Yeah, we've got a few people joining in. That's good. Okay, so now, everyone, rotate yourself 20 or 30 degrees or so, and look at the picture of me on the screen without turning your head. Okay, so I'm guessing you're not really enjoying this too much. What are you all desperate to do at this moment? Without unmuting you, I will take the liberty to suggest that you all want to turn your head to look at the screen. Fair to say? Okay, so I let you rotate your head only. Keep your body still facing the same angle. Okay, this is much more comfortable. But after some time, what else do you really want to do now? Indeed, you really want to turn your whole body to release the strain on your neck. So what we see from this is that we orientate our whole entire body posture in order to make vision comfortable. Sometimes you see people with abnormal posture and you wonder what's going on with their visual systems. Often, if you sort out their vision with special lenses and activities, you can profoundly affect their posture. Okay, now I'd like everyone to stand up. Yes, come on, off your posteriors, get up, all of you. Come on, up, up, up. Okay, and I'd like you to stand on one leg. Okay, that's probably not too much of a problem. Okay, now close your eyes. How do you feel now? A bit shaky? Well, you can sit down now, by the way. You can see how much vision helps your balance. In fact, most times people are dizzy. It is not from the ears, but a problem of integrating visual input. Now that's a topic in its own right, but you can see how vision is pervasive and affects all that we do. And this is obviously reflected in the neurology of the brain. Who knows how many neurons are there in the auditory nerve for hearing? Well, quick Google search reveals around 30,000 neurons from each ear. That's quite a lot. What about the vestibular nerve, balance? 40,000 on each side. That's even more. But what about the optic nerve? Well, a quick Google search reveals between 770,000 and 1.7 million. So you hear the difference, 30,000 versus 1 million, right? The majority goes to the area where we consciously process vision, but between 10 to 20% go to areas in the midbrain which involve subconscious visual functions. But still, 10% of 1 million is still way more than we're using to process hearing. And that's what we're just using for integrating vision with hearing, vision with balance and posture, etc. So you can see how much brain activity is being used to process your vision, your dominant sense. Okay, hopefully by now I've whetted your appetite to learn how to optimize this crucial sense, how to more efficiently use this visual process to improve your daily function. So let's learn a bit about peripheral vision. Now, as you know, light enters the eye, is captured by the retina, and the information is transmitted to the brain. Now, this is somewhat of a simplification, but there are two main pathways that this information is transmitted. You have central vision and peripheral vision, and there are different types of nerves primarily responsible for processing these. Now, central vision, that's really important. With it, you can see in fine detail. You can be able to discern small differences and identify what is the object in front of you. This is what most optometrists only check. You're all familiar with the test chart, right? So you look at a screen, you read the smallest letters you can make out, then your optometrist writes you a prescription to buy your glasses, right? Now, as a vision therapist, I'm much more interested in peripheral vision. It might not tell you what is there, but it does tell you where it is, how fast it's moving, and which direction it's going. It basically answers the question, what do I do with it? How do I react to this thing that I've seen? It is a more primitive aspect of vision, common to all seeing beings. It is faster acting, and it sets the scene for our central vision. It tells us to which location to direct the eyes, how much you need to focus, and so is crucial for guiding our central vision to see clearly. It is also the main part of vision which communicates with our other senses, hearing, balance, etc. Once again, setting the scene for a stable environment to enable us to make the most out of our central vision. So the question is, how can you maximize your peripheral vision to expand your vision and see more, as the title of this talk suggests? It's important to realize that many, perhaps most people, shut down their peripheral vision in order to concentrate on their central vision. They become like tunneled in order to block out the distractions. This may be some form of coping strategy, but it demands energy, and by shrinking your visual space, may lead to adaptations in vision, such as myopia, nearsight. People who are stressed are particularly culpable in this. The more you stress, the more you shut down your peripheral vision, the less efficient your vision is, which can lead to a whole range of symptoms, like pain, etc. To utilize peripheral vision, one must look with much less intensity. Look soft. Spread your visual energy over a wider range of items. Breathe, especially exhale. That will open up your periphery. It's very difficult to look with great intensity as you're exhaling deeply. So let's do another experiment. You can all see me on the screen at the moment. I want everyone to focus intently on the detail of the tip of my nose. That's probably the largest object on your screen at the moment. You can't miss it. Okay, seriously though, focus all of your energy on the tip of my nose and concentrate as hard as you can. Now, this is probably somewhat uncomfortable for the eyes. Now, look towards my nose softly. Notice the borders of the screen. Can you see all four at the same time? Take a deep breath out. Start to see all of the other things around the screen, outside of the screen, on all four sides, simultaneously. You can still see my nose, and it's fairly clear, but the eyes just feel so much more comfortable. Practice this. Look straight ahead. Can you see the floor, the ceiling, both walls on either side, all at the same time? It's important to realize that the objects in the periphery may not all be clear. Only your central vision is entirely clear, but that's okay, as long as you are aware of the periphery. Go for a walk. Look at the street ahead of you. Do you tunnel in when looking straight ahead? Try looking softly. Be aware of the buildings on the left and the trees on your right. Begin to see the branches of the trees appear like they're popping out more into the space you have allowed yourself to see. This is not really giving you more vision, but allowing yourself to see what you usually deny yourself, what you usually shut out. There is a book I read recently called The Shape of the Sky by a leading vision therapist in the USA called David Cook, not related to Rav Cook as far as I know. In it, he describes seeing the shape of the sky in the way I've just described. You see in front of you, let's say, a building on this side and a tree on the other side, and the sky is in between. The shape of the sky as framed by both objects on either side, seen as one single percept. That's what we're aiming for, and your vision will be so much more vivid for doing so. Expand your vision and see more. Many thanks for listening. Any questions?
That was great. I haven't laughed so much for a long time. And you got, I didn't want to say anything. I felt a little bit bad, but you have something on your nose. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Anyone have any questions? I wanted to ask you just about dealing with being so many hours on Zoom and in front of a screen, on emails and everything all the time. How to deal with it?
No, obviously it's a massive challenge. Visual hygiene. I mean, I really don't envy people who are at work on a screen all day. Fortunately, I don't have to be. So, you need to make sure, first of all, you don't want to be like too close up, okay? Make sure there's like a healthy distance between you and the screen. You want to make sure also that, well, you wouldn't want the screen down on the table like this, and you wouldn't want it straight up in front of you. You want it to be a bit lower than eye level. Usually when you look close at something, you're looking a little bit down. So if you've got the screen, you want to bring it close to you. And obviously, like the obvious, take breaks. Another little thing that probably would help anybody for any job that they're doing, when you're sitting down, have your feet on the floor, okay? This is going a little bit into the whole concept of vision and balance, but the same way as you saw in your demonstration, that your vision really, really helps your balance. So your balance helps your vision too. All the senses really complement one another. So if somebody is standing or seated, I should say, in a symmetrical, balanced posture, so then their vision is going to be more accurate. I don't know if I don't know how much time I've got to explain all of this, but basically, if you're looking at something, you need to know where is that object in relation to yourself. Okay? So it's not just good enough to know where the object is, you also have to know where you are. If you're not quite sure where you are, if you've got like a fuzzy idea that your eyes are somewhere around here, they might be here, they might be here, who knows, right? But how do you know exactly where your eyes are? Okay? So you have body system called proprioception. You get information from the muscles of your postural muscles of your body as to where you are. And if you've got a very, very clear body image, so you know where you are, you've got a good starting point, then your end point is going to be much more accurate as well. So if people are sitting and they don't have their feet on the floor or on some sort of especially angled something, they don't really know where they are in relation to the floor. They're missing out on a lot of information. So I would say keep your feet on the floor.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions that people have? Also, Gedalya, if you can just write a website or any information if people would like to contact you or find out more information anyway, that'd be appreciated.
Can I ask a question, Zev?
Go for it, sure.
Hi, Gedalya. I'm just wondering, what is the difference between what you do, the services you provide, and like going to an optometrist for a yearly annual check?
Sure. Well, my basic training is in optometry. I am an optometrist. So most of the, like first of all, there might be optometrists here, and anybody, they're qualified, they do a great job, etc., etc. But most people, the questions that you ask will determine the answers that you want to get, right? Or maybe the other way around. The answers that you want to get will determine the questions that you ask, right? When I say the questions, I mean what probes you do, what tests you're going to do. What do I want to find out from the patient in front of me? Okay? If I want to find out how well they can see from the chart, Okay, so a well-trained optometrist will be absolutely excellent at doing that. Okay, but if I'm interested in finding out how do they function over here, right, or over there on the screen, where on day-to-day functions, so that interests me much more. So I'll do a whole lot of tests to see people's range of function in those areas. What that means is that you can go to an optical and get a test in 5 or 10 minutes or something like that, and that will test one aspect of your vision. But somebody who comes to me, let's say when they want to do vision therapy, they might want to do vision therapy, they're struggling at school or whatever it is, they got headaches. So I spend an hour with them, and to be honest, I could spend another half an hour if I wanted to. It just depended on what I wanted to find out from that patient. How do they function? So that's really an optometrist compared to, say, people often ask me, what's the difference between an optometrist and an ophthalmologist, right? So Rofei Einayim, right? Rofei Einayim is a medical doctor who's trained in disease of the eye. Okay, he's trained to identify and treat diseases, if it's glaucoma, diabetes, who knows, whatever. Okay, so I know quite a bit about how to detect glaucoma or diabetes in the eye, but that's not my job to diagnose and treat it. Maybe to refer if I were to see something. Then they're interested in the structure of the eye. Is the eye healthy or is the eye not healthy? Is it diseased or not? My job is to determine the function of the eye, your vision in day-to-day life. Can you see? Can you do what you need to do your I don't know, computer work, your sports, your knitting, I don't know, whatever it is that one might want to do. So that's really the difference. But between me and another optometrist, any optometrist with the right training could, in theory, do what I do.
So thank you. Oh, sorry, any more questions? We'll take the last question. Anyone? Yeah, Yocheved, did you want to ask a question there? If you want to ask a question, just unmute yourself. Okay, go for it. Yes.
Can vision therapy compensate for any damage to vision from glaucoma or diabetes, or that's...
Oh, not really. I mean, I'd like to help people who have healthy, undiseased eyes reach their potential. Now, anybody, let's say if somebody had glaucoma, which is basically a problem of their visual fields, okay, maybe I could teach somebody to be more efficient with what they have. But to be honest, I don't have very much experience in that. I don't really. Most people coming to me, I would say, although vision therapy can be done at any age, people, I don't know, after strokes or whatever it is, they can have vision therapy. Most of my clients are really school children, and there's a couple of obvious reasons for that. Number one, because school children are kind of forced into doing something they don't want to do for every day of the week. And it's something that stresses them. It can give them eye aches, it can give them double vision, it can give them all sorts of issues. And unfortunately, they're stuck in it. And especially, people come to me from the yeshiva world. They've got like ein sof of years in front of them of this torture. So they're in pain. Now, people who are adults, they probably found a way to get around their problem. So maybe they didn't take a job which involved sitting in front of the computer screen. They chose a different type of job, which was more active and whatever it is, and they found their way to deal with it. Another thing is that often parents are more likely to pay for their children to sort their children out, and they neglect themselves. So I would say, and then maybe they have less time as well. They're working, they're busy, etc., etc. So definitely the vast majority of people come to me are healthy people who are young, of a range of ages, but mainly school age.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Gedalya, if you're able just to put your contact details in the chat or a website or anything, if people would like to contact you, we'd really appreciate it. And I want to say thank you to all of the speakers.
Can I interrupt, Zev?
Okay, go for it. Sure.
Okay. I want to say thank you so much to Zev for taking on organising these CAT TED Talks. Really excellent. And given that we've got about 30 people on, I'm wondering, I'm trying to get a feel of if people are interested in having some type of Zoom event on Purim, on Thursday night, on Purim Eve. I don't know how I'm going to get the responses. You know what? Maybe I'm thinking now as I'm talking that maybe I'll do a quick like survey monkey type of survey, because I'm just curious to know if people would be interested in partaking in a.
I would guess that would partially depend on what the rules are.
No, I'm talking Zoom. I'm talking virtual.
Right. No, but I'm saying, in other words, if we're a little more open and people can actually travel, see